All right, so the next thing that I do, let's turn that down a little, is I want the sampler to be connected to that stuff too. So this way this one works is out of channels 7 and 8. And I'll also put that as sort of like a stereo input into this Mingles module. And I'll just sort of preview it here. Those are like 8 samples that I can trigger from the sampler. Instead of just feeding 4 triggers directly into the sampler though, I run them through this box called a DivSkip. And DivSkip does a lot of stuff. This video is not about that. But one nice thing that mode it has is a probability mode. So if I have this knob, there's 4 inputs on this thing, right? 4 inputs right here. And if input 1 is all the sends a trigger in, if it's all the way to the left, it's always going to go out of output A. If it's all the way to the right, it's always going to go out of output B. And if it's in the middle, it's going to kind of randomize whether output A or B gets the trigger out. So then what I do is for these 8 inputs on the BitBox Micro, I'll take all 4 of those, all 8 of those inputs and all 8 of those outputs, 4 and 4, and I'll wire those all up together. I basically just kind of like mirror the arrangement with the grids. All right, so those are all in. And then what I'll do is I'll take triggers out of my NerdSec triggers, and I'll say that's input 1. Bring that down a little. Input 2. Input 3. And input 4. All right, so if I start all these out, and they're all the way to the left, that means it's always just going to trigger the first row samples. If I switch them to the right, it's always going to trigger the bottom row samples. And let me actually add a few more like triggers in here so we can hear everything. All right, so then what I can do is if I leave them at 50%, it's sort of randomly deciding whether the top row or the bottom row gets that sample. And that's, just kind of adds a little more variety to the drum part. I haven't even done any modulation yet, right? And then I could, of course, control the individual levels here. And then, of course, on any of the individual samples, I can go in here and I can change their attributes.